What's going on, everybody? The time has come to do an all new Let's Talk About. And this is a manga that I picked up pretty recently. I'd never read anything before by this mangaka, but I really enjoyed the artwork here. And it kind of took me back, in a sense, to. I basically grew up in like the 90s and the early 2000s. And I grew up in a time where when you'd go to the store and you would take a chance on a CD. You'd see the artwork and it would be appealing to you, so you would pick up that CD. Now, at least you have like Spotify and iTunes and whatnot, and you can listen to music. And if you want to buy it, more than anything, more than likely these days, people are going to be buying the vinyl for a lot of different things. That's pretty wild. Like, yeah, you can walk into Walmart and find like records. Whereas once upon a time, there was just like a sea of just CDs everywhere. And this is one of those cases where I saw this artwork and I took a chance, because I do that a lot. If I'll see a cover for some manga and I'll take a chance based on the cover, having never read anything by a specific mangaka. And this is a little bit, far afield from the stuff that I usually talk about on this channel. Sometimes I do talk about similar stuff, but I really don't ever talk about this kind of thing. I kind of want to call this like shoujo, but I'm not really 100% certain that this is that. Regardless, I really do want to talk about this, and if you have read this, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you haven't read it, hopefully you will join me on this journey to talk about Call the Name of the Night. You may hear the pitter-patter of rain in the background of this recording, and perhaps it will lull you to sleep as we talk about a manga that dwells in the dark. I want to open this review by saying this story is a visual feast. Even the cover art is absolutely gorgeous to gaze upon. I wasn't sure if there would be much depth beyond it looking pretty, and I was definitely wrong. My first impressions of the story itself are that it is a whimsical, dreamlike tale with a hypnotic sort of ambiance. I do most of my reading at night, around my bedtime, which with this manga fits perfectly, as nighttime is such a critical aspect of it. Mira, our lead girl, has a rather strange affliction, one which can call forth the night. If she gets nervous or scared, everything in the immediate vicinity becomes overwhelmed by blackness. It sprouts from all surrounding orifices and crawls outward. It is then up to the girl's master, Ray, to quell the darkness before it can spread too far. The balance of light and dark here is done with finesse. I don't actively look for flaws in the manga I pick up, but they sometimes become immediately apparent just through reading. Such has not been the case with Call the Name of the Night, at least so far, though I did admittedly at first write it off as a Call of the Night clone. That was a mistake, as the two couldn't be any more different than, please excuse the pun, night and day. We follow these characters as they carry out mundane tasks such as brushing their teeth or having breakfast, even combing their hair with a comb that looks like piano keys. This feels like a fantastical slice of life story that could gain traction and go full fantasy. There is already a living magic evident in this world, with Ray being able to recreate a whole past memory with just a flower pressed in glass. Ray tells Mira that the flower has a history, and the course it took from point A, where it was picked, to point B, where they presently are, can be traced. This whole section was beautifully rendered by mangaka Tama Mitsuboshi's wonderful art style and impeccable imagination. I always enjoy seeing stories from mangaka with an incredible sense of style and structure. Artists that I've read and enjoyed who employ a similar sense of wonderment include Daisuke Igarashi's Witches, Osamaru Furuya's masterwork, The Music of Marie, and Yoshitoki Oima's To Your Eternity. Something cutesy like this wouldn't appeal to me, but the amazing artwork and melancholic, nostalgic hints throughout keep it grounded. The magic in the air and the fun, lighthearted moments were also welcome. This story found a great balance between those elements and never lingered too long in any one of them. A sweet moment I enjoyed was Rei and Mira making jam from stars. Meanwhile, Rei explains the difference between regular stars and fallen stars. They live a pretty rustic, idyllic life out in the middle of nowhere from the looks of it. It is safer this way, as Mira's ability to call forth the night whenever she is stressed could have unwanted implications. She had already been shunned and made to feel like an outcast for having this ability. At least here, she can't hurt anyone and turn them into night, which would dissolve them completely. One of Ray's old college buddies comes to pay a visit, though he's more of a frenemy, and that's when things take a turn. I won't get into that to avoid spoilers, but it did add a bit of tension to the story I did not expect. Another thing I noticed is Mitsuboshi really enjoys her flamboyant dudes. Not that there is anything wrong with that, it's just a comment on my part, seeing as Rei has quite the fashion sense. It's an interesting juxtaposition from having just finished reading JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1 for a Let's Review, which also features super flamboyant men, though in JoJo's they're unreal muscular and beat the hell out of one another with their fists. Simultaneously, they're striking poses worthy of giving Vogue magazine a run for its money. If there were to be any sort of fights in this manga, which could maybe happen in the future, it would be with spellcasting and magic. I could see Rei possibly having to protect Mira at some point. There is definitely something more lurking around the corner that will alter their peace and tranquility. This kind of reminds me of another manga with a similar quality called The Girl from the Other Side. That story is about a sort of demon from the outside world and a girl from the inside world who come to live together and form a unique bond. Tama Mitsuboshi has done at least 3 other works besides Call the Name of the Night, though it seems only this one is available in English so far. Hopefully this series gains enough success that more of her works are translated by Yen Press or another publisher in the future. It's funny, like I came across this series while looking for Call of the Night. Like I was looking for Call of the Night and this ended up being in the recommended of Call of the Night. And I was like, what the hell is this? Call of the Name of the Night? It just, like, the artwork took me in. I saw this artwork with the girl on the cover, and I thought, this looks really nice. Like, the whole, everything going on here, it's, like, really bright and really, like, wonderful looking. It draws you in. It makes you want to see what's going to happen. And that was the case for me because, like, I'm I have ADD, so like I see shiny things and like my eyes immediately, jump to the shiny thing. I'm kind of glad in this situation that my eyes did jump to the shiny thing because in this case the shiny thing was this really beautiful manga called Call the Name of the Night by I know her last name is Mitsuboshi, Tama Mitsuboshi. I have no regrets about reading this. I mean, I'm a really broad, open-minded person. I read a lot of different stuff. I read a lot of different manga, and I always want this channel to be a place where I can and will, just talk about anything and everything. As long as it's like, manga related. I have no qualms about talking about whatever. I've done videos about romance manga. I'm pretty sure, yeah. I did a video about rom-com manga. I did a video about lewd manga. I got my next video after this is going to be about manhwa. I've been reading manhwa. So I'm super open-minded and I'll check anything out. So if there's stuff that you'd recommend me to read, I'll definitely give it a shot. And this is one of those cases where, like, I think it's good to be open-minded. It's good to, like, not just sit in one corner because I have friends that, that will only read a specific kind of a thing or only watch a specific kind of a thing. And I feel like life is too short to be pigeonholed. That's one of those things like I refuse to ever be, is pigeonholed, and I always want to be open-minded and willing to, embark on different journeys and different stories and meet different characters and see where their quests will go and where those things will lead. And you can come across stories you never would have experienced in that manner, and be sucked into these worlds that are beautiful and gorgeous, and the characters contained within are just dying to make you laugh or break your heart, or just make you feel some kind of an emotion. And you'll never know about these stories until you take a chance. And like the opening of the video where I was talking about going to the music store and buying CDs. I bought cassettes too. I'm old enough that I used to be able to, like, I'd buy cassettes, but I used to go to the store and buy CDs and take a chance. And I did that with this manga, and I have absolutely no regrets about taking a chance and reading Call of the Name of the Night Volume 1. I already ordered Volume 2 because I really do want to see where this is going to go. And I would never have, picked up, because I've seen the other artwork, the other manga that this creator has made, and I would have never picked any of those other ones up because they don't really appeal to me, and I also don't think any of them are in English yet. This is the first one that she's created that's been published in English, and I'm glad that I picked it up, and I'm glad I stumbled upon it because it was completely by accident. I was looking for Call of the Night, and I ended up coming across Call of the Name of the Night. And even a friend of mine, I was telling him that I was going to do a video about this, and he's like, "Oh, you're still reading that?" And I was like, "No, man, it's a different manga." So he thought it was the other one as well. Yeah, even the back, I really like that back a lot too. There's such a magic to this, and I'm a big fan of fantasy, and there's definitely an element of fantasy to this. I've read a lot of fantasy books, and I've talked about that in the past in my other videos. I love Lord of the Rings, and I've read the King Killer Chronicles books by Patrick Rothfuss. I'm reading Brandon Sanderson's books that I cannot remember the names of off the top of my head. I think the first one's called The Way of Kings, but I'm a big fan of fantasy, and this definitely has fantasy elements. So I'm excited to see where Volume 2 is going to go, and how much fantastical this is going to get, and where overall the story is going to go, where we're going to follow Mira. And there's definitely hints of it possibly getting dark, but I don't think it's going to get too dark because it doesn't feel like that kind of a story. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. Certain stories feel like they're going to go one way and then they go another. So, who's to say that it won't get darker? But I think the balance of elements within this story is just right. It's pitch perfect. This story was absolutely gorgeous. It was beautiful, and I cannot wait to see where we'll go. I can't wait to see where Tama Mitsuboshi will take us in Volume 2.
By the hands of God, I stand as a wrench between your wheeling cog. Fastening my belt, bracing myself to withstand against all odds. Himself shadow runners, battle ready, murder dogs. Rip the skin off your horses, triumph and smash the sorceress. Lethal forces, the failure of your ambitions is more painful than divorces. Smash its own piece on the doorway, when the door hits, that's it. Call it quits, zipped up in plastic, cremated, melted like elastic. Dreams don't mean shit, in this life they don't exist.